Oh yeah. Ha ha ha. Beautiful fish. A lot of people ask me what is my favorite lure when I'm fishing smallmouth on the river. To be honest with you, I like to fish with topwater baits, but let's face it, that don't necessarily work all the time. Day in and day out, my go-to bait for consistently catching river smallmouth is a swim bait. It's the only bait I can catch smallmouth with from the first day on the water in late April or early May, all through summer, and the last day on the water, just before ice out, I can still catch them with a swim bait. But the key to fishing with swim baits is you have to understand, first of all, you got to use the right swim bait. Not so much the color, but the right swim bait. You have to use the right presentation, the right retrieve, and you've got to apply it, obviously, in the right location. Get that cold water in spring. You get water temperatures in the 40s. My go-to swim bait then is just a small 3.5-inch paddle tail bait. Kind of a slimmer profile. I like that in that cold water. I also like one with a kind of a softer tail because you get a lot of light bites. You're not going to get a hammer like they do maybe in the fall. So you want a swim bait that's got a not too heavy of a tail, slow, steady retrieve. I might vary it a little bit, speed it up just slightly, but the slowest I can work that swim bait, the better off I'm going to be. Because what's going to happen when you're going to get these spring bites, you're going to get light bites. A lot of times they're just going to grab this tail, and if you overreact, set that hook hard and fast, you're going to lose a lot of fish. So what you do, you cast it out, count a little bit, vary the depth in your retrieve. I should point that out. Every cast you make, 1 foot down, 2 foot down, very critical in the spring because them smallmouth don't like to jar it up real quick in the cold water. Let's get back, cast it out, let it drop a little bit to the desired depth, start retrieving, and if you feel a bump, don't overreact. What you want to do is keep reeling at the same speed, and then when you feel a direct hit, either a hard pull and the line goes down, but most of the time it's going to veer to the right and veer to the left. When you feel that, make sure, reel your line up slow to make sure you got a tight line, and then set the hook, not like that, just feel it and just steady sweep, and you're going to catch fish. Sounds simple, but this is the retrieve. Very, very important. As the water warms into the 50-degree range, I'll still use this small swim bait, but then I might go to a little bit larger swim bait like the Case Little Magic Swim. This is deadly in water temperatures over 50 degrees. Fish, smallmouth, are a little bit more active. They chase a little bit, and larger fish will come a greater distance in the colder water. However, you get a lot of cold fronts even when the water temperature is close to 60 degrees. So when I get a cold front, I revert back to a smaller swim bait in the spring. So let's again, we got the right retrieve, the right swim bait. They're really inactive, a smaller one. If they show a little bit of activity, they're more active, a harder strike, then I can go to a larger swim bait. I stick with fluorocarbon line, not just in the spring, but throughout the summer and in the fall with my swim baits. Why? Because it allows me to control the depth a little bit since it does sink well. Another thing too, you notice most of my swim baits here, I've got the longest possible hook shank that I can guy on my jig heads. And I also use a lightest possible jig head because it lets me control the line a little bit better. So there you go. Let's go catch some spring smallmouth with swim baits.